Billy, how's it going, everybody? I'm here today to talk about the absolutely worst cards that are currently in Marvel Snap. We have this new great season with some new great cards like Loki here, who I thought would be all memes, but it turns out he is in fact dreams for anyone hoping to hit Infinite this season. We've got some great cards coming out later in the month, but there are still so many cards that are basically just unplayable. Okay, they need some big buff or rework, and they just need to find a home. They don't really have a deck that they work in, and they're just not good. So today I'm here to talk about them. I'm gonna go and give my thoughts on the worst cards at each energy cost. And I last did this about 2 months ago, I believe, and some cards have changed. Cards like Hawkeye have been buffed, Nick Fury. It's good to see some of these cards getting buffed, but there are still more that need it. So to start off, let's look at our one cost cards. There are a couple bad ones. There's a lot of one cost cards that are just kind of whatever, but I think Uatu is now the worst one drop. Okay, I used to have this spot for Hawkeye. I think it is now Uatu the Watcher. Even though he's got some good variants in the game, he's just bad. He kind of has the same problem that some other cards like Angel and M'Baku have, where they only work if they are in your hand or your deck when you need them. So for Uatu, if he starts in your deck and you don't draw him by turn 2, he's just useless. If the locations have already revealed, he doesn't do anything for you. You're just drawing a 2 power card that costs 1, and that's about it. So I think him, Angel, and M'Baku should work regardless of if they're in your hand or your deck. I think that's such, an easy fix to make them all at least playable, at least something to consider if you're making a deck where that kind of information helps you out. You could even go a step further and have Uatu predict what some locations will turn into when you have locations that will turn into a random one or destroy another location. Maybe Uatu could see some of those RNG effects. That could be interesting. So for my worst 2-cost cards, I think overall the 2-cost cards are pretty decent. Okay, there's a lot that you can reasonably play. One that just doesn't have it is Maria Hill. Maria Hill just adds a random 1 or 2 cost card to your hand, and that kind of sucks. I mean, you've got Shanna now, who is at 3 costs, and she'll add 1 cost cards to the board. You've got Agent 13, who will add a random card to your hand that could be better than a 1 or 2 cost card. So just that card pool isn't great, right? One drops, a lot of them just aren't very good. Okay, there's some that are worse than others, but a lot just aren't very good. So you don't really want a random 1 cost, and you might get something all right as a 2 cost, but it's just kind of clunky. She doesn't add enough to warrant really wanting to play with the Collector or Devil Dino, and you're just not getting much from her. So I think she needs to change. What that is, I don't know. Maybe you need to add 2 cards like Agent Coulson. You could give her better ability and make her a 2/2. You could do something. Okay, she needs some kind of change. So she's getting my spot for the worst 2-drop in the game at the moment. For 3-cost cards, I am going and looking for Mr. Punisher here. He's just not played. I mean, he's all right when you're in pools 1 and pool 2, and that's basically it. Once you're out of there, he's out of your decks. If you see someone playing Punisher, you can probably assume that they are a bot. He's just not very good. He only goes up to 6 power, and now there are just so many 3-drops that surpass 6 power. Okay, they go up to 7, 8. I mean, it gets really crazy, and the Punisher just can't keep up. So he needs some kind of different ability, either beef up his ability or just make him a 3/3 or maybe even 3/4 as a base. Okay, some kind of stat boost or ability change. I would personally just make him a 3/3. I think that's a quick, simple change, and maybe he's considered after that. And my vote for the worst 4-drop, I will give you a couple seconds to guess this one, because I think this is opinion a lot of people have. The worst 4-drop in the game is in fact Strong Guy. He's a card that you don't really even see in pools 1 and pool 2. I mean, he just doesn't get played at all. whether you're new or you've been playing the game for a while, he's just bad. I mean, even if you manage to empty your hand, which can be tough, and if you're going for a discard deck, you're probably trying to play something big like Hela that just goes way bigger than a 10 power strong guy. So it just doesn't work out. You know, he doesn't have a place in a discard deck, and if you're not playing discard, you don't really have a way to empty your hand. And a 410 isn't even that crazy. It's easier to slap down a Tuma or Sentry and deal with their negative abilities. I mean, that's just much easier than trying to get Strong Guy to a 410, and he's too clunky to work with ongoing effects. Like if you hit him with Onslaught or Spectrum, he's just too expensive for this subpar ability that will rarely work. I mean, it's just really tough. And especially if you're running America Chavez in your deck, it's gonna be really tough to just empty your hand if you're drawing a 6-drop at the end. So he needs some kind of change. I'm gonna suggest not a stat change. I don't think that helps him. I think his ability's just kind of lame and it's hard to pull off. It's not even like it's hard to pull off, but it's exciting. It's just kind of lame, okay? It's just if your hand's empty, plus power, very simple. I think they need to do something different. What that is, I don't know. I would like a complete rework of Strong Guy. I think he really needs it. Now, to talk about 5-cost cards, overall, 5-cost cards are strong. I mean, you're looking at these cards here, and we got some heavy hitters. One that is new and has just been buffed, but I think it's still not there, and considering how good 5-cost cards are, I'm gonna say Lady Deathstrike is still the worst 5-cost card in the game. She was released as 3 power and now she's buffed to 4 power, and I just don't think it's enough. I haven't seen her played yet. She hasn't had much time because we've got all this Loki shenanigans going around. I just don't know. I mean, even if you try to play with Shuri, you're better off just playing Shuri with the Red Skull or Vision or Kitty Pryde. It's just tough to justify Lady Deathstrike being the best option in the deck. And overall, I think she has more potential than the other cards that I've named so far in this video, but compared to 5-drops, it's just the bottom of the barrel. I mean, 5-drop cards are stacked. You look at these 5-drops, they're so good. Almost all of them have a home in a well-known deck, okay, whether it's top of the meta right now or has been, it's just kind of a recurring deck. Lady Deathstrike does not have that. She doesn't really have a home. She's still kind of memey. I don't know if she needs a buff or if she just needs more synergistic cards to enter the game. You know, once new cards come out, maybe she gets better if you get some really strong but lower powered cards. I don't know, but I think she's pretty bad still. Now, to talk about the worst 6-cost card in the game, some 6-cost cards are really good and some are just kind of meh. You know, some just aren't great. And there's a couple I have in mind for this one, but I'm gonna actually stick with what I said about 1 or 2 months ago, and that is Helicarrier. Helicarrier is bad. Okay, it's just not good. Last time I said this, I know there's someone that commented about how Nick Fury and Helicarrier were both super good and they had a deck with it that was good, but then Nick Fury got buffed after, okay? And Helicarrier needs the same treatment because it's just not a good card. It's a 610. 10's a good amount of power, but it's not crazy. Even if you're playing a Hela discard deck, you can get other cards in your hand that have more than 10 power. I mean, you don't need to use Helicarrier just to revive it. You just have better options. And in a discard deck, it's not really played. It's just so clunky. Maybe if it was cheaper, it would work. Okay, maybe if you make it a 4-cost card, discarding it and adding random cards to your hand could work. Maybe if playing a discard deck, I don't know. Just some way so that if you don't get discarded, maybe it's playable, okay? Or just change the ability. I like that Quinjet kind of synergizes with it. I mean, if you do discard Helicarrier, Quinjet can give you a discount on the cards that Helicarrier generates, but currently Quinjet is not run in decks alongside discard. I mean, you know, maybe there's something that can tie Helicarrier to Dawkin, to Quinjet. I don't know, but it currently does not exist. And I think compared to the other 6-drops, Helicarrier is the worst, and I would personally, this is another card I would just like to see an ability change. I just think it's not super interesting. It's much easier to pull off Agent Coulson or Nick Fury. Helicarrier, you have to discard it first, and then you're getting 3 random cards, which probably suck, and it just needs something better. Okay, so show some justice to cards like Helicarrier, Lady Deathstrike, Strong Guy, Punisher, Maria Hill, and Uwadu the Watcher. So those are my worst cards in Marvel Snap for the time being, and the cards that are coming out soon all look pretty dang good, so I don't think any of those are going to make this list anytime soon. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is the worst card in Marvel Snap, and if you strongly disagree with any of my choices here, let me know. Let me know why. Let me know what deck you like playing it in, and I'll see you next time.